Hi everyone, welcome back again. I just wanted to kind of show you something that's come up in the update, the latest update. Previously, these lanterns didn't exist on work buildings, which I find very useful because I think there was probably a bit of feedback, especially in the resource shed, that basically no one could see in the dark of what was actually in the resource shed. So the fact that this update has brought in, and I haven't need to put the lanterns in. These have been done with the update. So every work building, I think with the exception of the extraction shed, has got a lantern inside that will come on automatically at night time, which is really good. Just want to add as well that this is the new herbalist hut, which I've done off screen. I'll come back to this at a later date, but suffice to say, this is to do with things like making potions, your poisons, and things like that. So I will cover that in a future video, but for now, just to make you aware that I've just made this. Again, you may have already constructed this, which is good. That's fantastic. So just going to head back over to my house. It's the end of the season, so it's going to be summer when I kind of restart in the morning. So I just thought I'd just bring that lighting thing to your attention, and then obviously, okay, so it's a new season, it's summer. I felt it was probably quite useful just to bring to your attention the new lighting update on buildings. So it gives you an idea, just in case you wonder whether they appeared out of nowhere. Okay. So a bit of a recap on the previous video. As you know, the donkey has now got a saddle bag, so we can carry more items. He also has a friend. I bought a female donkey in the previous season, so there will be at some point some little donkeys arriving, foals. But in the meantime, it does mean that your animal feed's going up. There is also a new piglet that's arrived. So to find out how your animals are kind of progressing, if you go into your management menu, you go into the husbandry section, and as you can see, there are 3 in the pig house now, pigsty now. So you've got the male, the female, and the piglet. Now, as I said before, the piglet doesn't generate any manure until they become an adult, which I think is probably after a year. So you've got to wait a little bit longer for that. But again, they'll be chomping away in your animal feed. There's been a couple of supply issues with regards to work buildings, which I've kind of come across, and you might have come across them yourself. As my previous game was 15 in-game years in, I kind of sort of got used to it and managed to kind of get around the issues, but they've started to appear. So, for example, in the last season, I ran out of logs, and which is unheard of. But that was because obviously I was using logs for planks, I was using logs for firewood, and I was using logs for tools. So it ran out very quickly, the amounts that I had in stock. And I think this is another thing that it's good to review your production in regard to the items you need, the base items you need. So, like we've said, for things such as logs, it's nice to know what it is your base supplies are being used for, and accordingly kind of accommodate. Another thing you can see in the barn, for example, here, is I don't have any manure, and again, that's the thing, that the manure hasn't been generating enough for the fertilizer to be converted in the barn. Now, it will do today. There will be some more going in there, but for the time being, what I may have to do is to go to the local village and just buy a lump of manure to turn into fertilizer, so at least then we'll have something for the summer season. Now, the only thing being planted in the summer season is cabbage, so there won't be a huge amount needed, but at least we'll have something in place. I also did some villager moving around for work, so we now have a second excavation shed than we did before, and I moved one of the villagers who was previously in the sewing hut to kind of top that up. So, and the reason will become apparent later in this video is to do with installation of buildings, but I just needed to kind of top up my excavation source of materials, because again they were going through quite quickly. So it can be quite a balancing act earlier on. So if you are experiencing this, don't be afraid to stop certain things and do like I've had to do, is start doing it yourself. So, you know, getting used to automation is one thing, but there will come a time that on occasions you will need to do that. So how does today's video look like, or what would today's video look like? Basically, we're going to continue with the quests, so the story quest for Sambor and Uniegost, and hopefully get Sambor's one completed in this video. Uniegost will go on for a bit longer. We'll be looking to return to Alwyn's quest in due course, although that may not be in this video, it may be in the next. There is one element with Alwyn's story quest at the moment, where you may remember that we're trying to score points to get to 20 points for appease the quest itself. Now, once that's been done, I can tell you straight away the next quest is even harder, because you then need to get 60 points with a maximum of 3 arrows and on a bet, a 200 coin bet. And I would recommend when you get to that point, you save the game. Because if you fail, and that's fine if you do fail, but if you fail, then basically it'll cost you another 200 points to try again, and another 200 points to try again, or coins rather, no 200 coins to try again. So it's better to save the game. If you fail, then reload it. There's no harm in reloading the game. Everybody does it. There's no harm at all in reloading the game. So, you know, when you get to that point, and I should probably do that off screen to get myself kind of moving forward on that, because I think everybody will know by now where you are with your quests and what you need to do. One thing just notice, I'm very hot according to the icon, so let's run into the shack, and I'm going to change my clothing. So we're going to take pretty much everything that I don't need, transfer that across there. Don't need my fur boots, don't need the capulet, don't need the joint hose, or the linen shirt, or the tunic, or the thick gloves. So we're going to kind of take everything else that I need out. So it's a flat straw hat, a simple linen shirt, simple shoes, and trousers. Yes, that's fine, that's all I need. And then we'll just equip them, because otherwise he's sitting there with no clothes on. So we'll just equip them all. And that will or should help us for the time being. Okay. And you can see straight away that the icon's going down already. I mean, it had actually gone up quite a lot, which was a bit worrying, to say the least. One other thing I want to do before we run into the next quests is to run through, we talked about skills and levels and technology. Now you may recall I mentioned in the previous video that with technology points, it can be difficult for the farming one to build up, especially when you want to get to the high levels of getting a stable, a fold, and a cowshed. The reason behind that is that if you're not doing farming yourself, although you will get some points on the back, you get like a small percentage of points on the back end of your farmers, it is still wise to do some yourself. So what, again, I built off screen, and I'm just going to take you over there now. Just give me a second. We get there. Is I actually built my own field. So it's not being managed by anybody else, it's purely being managed by myself. No one else is dealing with it. And basically what this means then for me is that for building the field, for planting, hoeing, fertilizing, it all adds up your points. So I'm now sitting on 970 points. I was sitting on 766 points. Now, the farming technology also takes into consideration your breeding, so the fact that I bought a new donkey and there's also a piglet will also have a positive effect. Now, you also see there's a farm shed here. So in theory, I could put a villager to work on it, but I don't want to do that at the moment, purely because I want to build up my farm points, my technology faster where possible. So it does mean, and this is the good thing why I'm using 4-day seasons, it does mean for 1 day of each season I can literally just go through and do whatever farming I need to do. So for example, it is very likely that I will plant some cabbages once the other cabbages have been harvested, so I'll have some spare seed that I can put into the ground on this occasion. The other reason to having a farm shed next to the field, let's get out of the sunlight for a minute, is that there's an error marker or an alert marker that comes up, and that basically kind of tells you that if you don't have a farm shed, your returns, so your crop harvest, will not be as fruitful as the one with a farm shed. Now, the fact that no one's actually going to be sitting in this farm shed and doing my work for me is irrelevant. It just basically means that it's better to have the farm shed in place, so you do get more of your harvest. So you'll get your 5 or 6 per plot rather than say 3 or 4. I think something along those sort of lines. So that's kind of where this is at. Now I'm just going to see what I need to do on here. Are these all ready to collect? No, beetroot isn't, but onion is. I'm going to collect the onion while we're here, so just quickly do that, and then I'll put that in the food storage before we head off onto our next stage of the quest. Now we're going to be heading over to Baranika to see Norbert, and this is all part of Sambor's quest. We'll then head over to Borowo to see Ida, so we can then get the scythe that Uniegost needs for his quest, and then obviously we'll see how that pans out from there. I would imagine that we will need to head back to Danica, and that was to see the lady that we saw in the last video. So we're going to head back over this way. In fact, we'll get back on here. And I'll just go over to the food shed and put the onions in. And the beetroot we'll put in, we'll be harvesting it in autumn anyway. So I'm going to put the onion in. Now there's one other thing in this section I want to run through with you, and that is items that can or cannot be used for things like food and firewood. You may have come across this before. If you have, then great. If you haven't, then let me just run that through you. So we go back into the management screen, and if you go into the last bit here, this is your items menu. So this is all about your wood, water or drink, and food. So just for example here in the firewood demand section on the right hand side here, planks are not considered as firewood. So whatever planks are being made up in the woodshed, which currently have been stopped because I needed the logs, are not being used for firewood. Everything else would be. So firewood is obviously priority, and then so on and so forth. So if you can see here at the moment we've got only 6 logs, but we've got 800 firewood, so we've got more than plenty. Same can apply with foods. Now, the issue I'm doing at the moment with food is I'm running out of meat faster than that. As soon as the hunters are bringing the meat into the lodge, it's being eaten as a priority. So if you go down through your priority list, and you will see that meat on its own is got a priority compared to any of the fruit, veg, and so on, and eggs, etc. The whole idea with meat to help, I mean, meat on its own gives you something like 12 value or 10 value for nutrition, whereas if you roast it, it's more like 14. But if you put it in a potage, for example, so something up here, it gives you 60. So the idea is you want those 2 pieces of meat to go into the potage or the stew, which is what I've done here. I've done a whole load of stews, so that they will the food demand will last longer. So again, for example here, the food demand per day is 500 per day. A potage is 60. A stew is 40, I believe. So the point is that you would need 10 to 12 meals a day compared to the 50 in meat. So this is why the meat's disappearing. So what I've now put on the food is I've actually now marked it as non-consumable. And I'm going to do the same with the onion because I need the onion for a soup. So I'm going to mark that as non-consumable. And that basically means that when the villagers go to the storage unit, they don't take any of the meat that's being collected, so that I can make it up into stews, into potage, using the cabbage and the carrots that I'm getting currently at the moment, because it gets more of a value. It's entirely up to you how you do this. There is no right or wrong, but from the point of view you are finding that your meat is running out rather rapidly because they're going through 20 or 30 pieces of meat in a day because of the lower nutrition, it might be worth putting them as non-consumable as long as you've got plenty of veg in. Because as you can see here, although it's 500 demand in food a day, I've got 2,500 in stock. That's 5 days worth of food. And that comes down to things like your cabbages and your carrots, and also the fact that I've made up a whole load of stews. I've made 25 stews up. So, you know, there's more than enough for what's needed at this time. So let's just come out of there. So now that we've done that bit, I'm going to now head over to just continue with our quest. So this will take me across the river back over to Baranika, so I shall catch up with you shortly. Okay, so here we are, we're coming into Baranika. Now Norbert is, I believe, down here. He works in the herbalist hut, which is inside of here. So let's just come out of there and see if he's actually in here. There he is, so I have a quick chat to him. And we're asking him for the elixir for Nena over in Danica. So he then gives you a list of items that you need. Okay, so we're going to put tracking of the quest back on because it doesn't show on the right hand side of the screen at the moment. So there we go. So you need 10 dandelion, 5 daisy, 3 thistle and 1 manure. Now again, this is because I've played it before. I was already prepared, so I've got them all here. So I only need 5 daisy. I need 10 dandelion, 3 thistle, and it looks like the manure has gone from my saddlebag. That's not a problem because over the hill there is a sheep farmer. Around the back this way probably easier. There we go. There's a sheep farmer and she's bound to have a manure. So just to make you aware, if you weren't already, you can get sheep from Baranika. So we'll talk to Alina, ask her for her wares, take 1 manure because that's all I need. Good point. Just remembered, I need some manure for actually back in the village. So what we'll do is we'll take the lot. Because I actually do need to take some back to the village anyway. I'll put the rest in the donkey's backpack for now, because it's going to make me over encumbered otherwise. So I'll put the manure in there. There we go. And then let's just go in and talk to Norbert again. Okay, so we now need to take this back over to Danica, which we'll do shortly. So in the meantime, what I'm going to do is we're going to head down over across to Burrowo. Now Burrowo is just over the horizon here. It's about 30 to 60 seconds as we go over. So we're just going to head on over here into the town. This is Burrowo. I really love what they've done with the new decor on this game, because it looked a bit bare before, so I'm really glad what they've done with this. 34, 33, so we suggest that she's probably in this far building, although it looks like she's moving around, so maybe she's outside. Let's have a look in here. She's definitely not in this building, so she must be around the back. In fact, she's moving away, which would suggest that she is around the back of the building. I got a fee. Is this her? This is Ida. Right, okay. So basically, he didn't say that he lost it in a bet. So you can buy it, which will cost $4.50, or you can play the game, which is a game of riddles. And if you lose, you don't own anything, but you don't get the side either for free. So let's have the riddles. So the first one is, what disappears the second you say its name? So you've got dust, a little girl, tree, wind, and silence. So silence, because as soon as you say silence, it's no longer silence. Correct. So it says the next one is, feed me and I live, yet give me a drink and I die. What am I? So you can feed a fire with wood, and if you put water on the fire, it goes out. So fire. And the final one, I can fly but have no wings, I can cry but have no eyes. Wherever I go, darkness follows me. What am I? Now, this is an interesting one. I can fly but I have no wings. Cloud. So if you cry, it's raining, and darkness will always follow you because you're blocking out the sun. I could be sarcastic, but I'm not going to be. So I've gained a bit of Dynasty reputation. I'm now going to head back over to Gostovia and to give Uniegost his scythe. So we're going to head back over. Let's see where he is. So he's not far away according to the head-up display. Now, I think this might be his house. It is. There we go. One scythe. So we now need to go and talk to Sambor. However, because we need to go to Danica for the other quest for Sambor's story, there's no point going to see him straight away. So we'll go over to Danica and we will basically deal with that side of things before we head back to Sambor. Okay, so here we are coming into Danica. And we're going to find a Fenena. It's a bit lucky actually. I came past the bandit camp and they didn't realise I was there, and so as soon as I saw them, I just legged it, got us out of there as quick as I could. So here's the potion we need to give her. Right, so she wants us to come back on the following day, purely on the grounds. Basically, she wants to taste it first. So because of that, we are going to head out of the village and we're going to head back down to our home. So I should see you shortly. Now, whilst we're back home, the workers are now starting to return back to their home. I'm going to see if I can chat to our expectant wife, wrong word to use there. No, our potential wife. She's not pregnant yet. There are some people already over here, so we'll have a chat to these guys as well. Right, so it's none of those. Just to kind of give you an overview, what we'll be looking at in the future video is kind of making this area look a little bit more homely, like a gathering area. At the moment, it's looking a bit of a mess. I do want to tidy it up, but until I've moved the woodsheds over to the other side, and that means getting a bigger woodshed. So the idea is to get from a level 1 to a level 2 woodshed, build the level 2 woodshed across the river, and then demolish these two and move the villages across accordingly. Then obviously I don't want to tidy up just yet. That will be happening soon. This is who it is, right? So we're up to 84%. We're now up to 90%. It's maybe another day yet. Oh, 98%. So this could be getting there. Oh no, one more day. So we're literally on 98%. So tomorrow morning we should be able to have a chat to her, and we'll be at the level that we need to be for proposals. Just going to standing here because it is a bit warm and I'm getting a bit the hot icon. So we'll pick this up in the morning. So it's the next morning. So we'll try and catch hold of. First of all, this is the one. This is her. Yeah. We're at 100% now, so we can now go in and do the number 1. Now there will be a ceremony, an animation now. And as you can see now, there's a symbol next to her name, which is, I'm not quite certain what that symbol is. I think it might be a diamond of some sort. But anyway, if we talk to her now, basically her mood is shot up straight away. I mean, that's probably because she just got married. And then as long as you talk to her on a regular basis, we will be covering the air bit in due course. As you can see, top right hand corner, Chapter 10 of the Dynasty quest has now only got one item left on it, which is to get a child. If we then look on the management screen, and if you go into the housing and go into my house, I now have her in my house as well. So her house will now become available. So we can see it's empty now. So just take the name off of that because it's nice. So I'll put on this spare, because we know that we're going to need we've got a spare place now. We can get a couple more villagers in. I will probably look into get rid of my old house at Gostovia soon as well. When we get to the end of Uniegost's quest, I no longer need to be sitting in there as well. Okay, so now we've done that, but we're going to head over now to Danica and see Fenella. Let's see where she is again. Should be around here somewhere. There she is. And now you're asking, can we trade now? And she's still not happy. It says the client is furious. The potion didn't work at all. And then we basically say that we know that it was made correctly. Okay. So Sambor's story part 2 is finished. We need to go to see Bogdan, who's in Branica, which is the next village over from Norbert is in Baranica. So we'll head that way now. Okay, so we're in Branica now. Let's kind of head on in and see Bogdan, who I believe is in the shed in this house here actually. There he is. So he's kind of like furious as well. Okay, so he did not do what he's supposed to have done with it. God knows what he did do it. I don't know, but there you go. And he's just given us money back to give back to Fenana. So we need to head back over to Denica again. And as if by magic, we're back in Denica. We pay her for money. And then she says that she's leaving the valley. But she said she'll only buy the figurines for 1 coin apiece, which is absolutely ridiculous. And we're saying, go away. So we're now going to head back to Sambor. Obviously the figurines haven't been sold. So we're now going to head over and see Sambor. And here we are, we're back heading towards Sambor. So we should be able to do 2 stories at once. Oh, there he is, he's hiding there. Okay, so he's now talking about the Uniegost quest, and this is because Uniegost sent us back over to see him. He's kind of seeing he's heard an owl, and then basically, right, so he says he doesn't hunt anymore. Okay, so the next part for his quest is to deal with the owl. In the meantime, I'm going to confirm that we've met with Fenana. And we tell her that she's left the valley. Now, we have option of basically saying that she stole the figurines or she bought them. So I'm going to go with bought. It's going to cost us coin, but it's worth it because he then becomes a trader, which we can then use at some point. And I'm going to make him so he'll really good. That has cost a lot. It does mean that we can eventually buy stuff back off of him that is stuff that you cannot get anywhere else. In the meantime, let's go to see if we can find this owl. Now again, it's in a kind of circular area. And if you've got your sound turned up, the closer you get, the likely you're going to hear it. Okay, so we're now out of the area. Let's go back in. There's someone that's moving, or something that's moving. Ah, just heard it then to my left. And here we have someone pretending to be an owl. So basically someone's hired him to scare out Sambor, someone who lives in Tutki, which is ironic because that's not very far away from our village anyway. So he will now, this guy will now disappear and go. We will then go back and see Sambor. I believe he's inside. Let him know what's going on. We're telling her that it was someone pretending. And he tells us that this other bloke is part of his old gang. And now we need to wait another day. So what time is it at the moment we got here? It's only 3:15. So as we're at the kind of, I would say, a good stopping point, we've finished Sambor's story. So Sambor's story, if you look at the quests, his story has now gone. It's finished. So we've got Uniegost's story, which we're on at the moment. We've still got Alwyn's story, which I will continue off screen, as I said before. I will also continue this off screen for now, because primarily you will see for yourself, it's primarily just gathering items such as food, etc. I don't want to kind of spoil it for you, so I'll leave the rest of that to you for now. Okay, so we're going to head on back down to my home village. Whilst I'm doing that, we're going to come to the end of the video. So as I'll explain a few things as I'm riding. You may or may not have got to the point where you are able to upgrade your resource storage, whether it's the general resource or the food resource, up to level 2. Whether you do that or not is entirely up to you at this time. It depends, for me, it depends on basically what I've got in storage at the moment across all 4 general storage and 2 food storage. The level 1 is 1,000 kilo capacity for each. So I've got 4,000 kilos capacity for resource and 2,000 kilos capacity for food. At this moment in time, the cumulative amounts in the general resource is just under 1,000 kilos. So for me, there isn't any reason for me to upgrade any of my resources to level 2 and thus use more planks and more logs until I get to the point where I feel that I'm actually at 4,000 kilograms maxed out. And the same applies with the food resource. I've currently got probably about 500 kilograms used so far, so there is little point me actually utilizing the level 2 at this time and kind of like utilize all the resources to upgrade those buildings. You must decide yourself when you do that. It's entirely up to you. It will get done at some point. It probably won't get done in the next couple of years for me, but it will get done. The future videos will take a little bit of a change in the sense that I'm going to play this game in-game for about 2 years, so that I can build up some stock and some skill levels, so both hunting and farming and other technical levels as well. Because at the moment, although I'm doing this as kind of like every Reggie season, we're at the point at the moment, the gaps between what we can upgrade to or what buildings we can buy is getting bigger, and it takes a little while to do. So it may be a few more days before I come back on, maybe about 2 or 3 days before I come back on, but I'm going to play in-game for a couple of seasons. One thing I've forgot to mention, and just to kind of let you know, in the management screen, we have had a new arrival. In fact, we've had 2 new arrivals. So both of the ones that were previously pregnant are now mothers. So at the bottom of the screen here, you can see that they're mothers. And as such, they will now be off the work detail for 2 years. And there's our 2 youngsters. And they won't form part of any working detail until apprenticeship age, which I believe is in the teens. So once they get to the teens, you can then have them as an apprentice. It doesn't go any further forward towards gathering resources. So like, for example, if you put them in the woodshed, they don't increase the number of logs that's collected. It's to build the skill level. And then when they become an adult, they then become obviously at the right skill level for what you want. So if you put them in a woodshed, then that's obviously extraction. If you put them in the workshop, it's production. If you put them on the farm field or in the barn, then it's farming, and so on. So you would then, as an apprentice, build that up, but that's quite a way down the line. There's another one that's pregnant. Gerard is pregnant. So again, it's kind of managing your expectations on how you're going to replace these two whilst they are on maternity leave. It's a better way of calling it, maternity leave. Now, the fact that we now have a spare house means I can bring in 2 new villagers, and that will certainly kind of help fill in the gaps in the meantime. And there's a possibility over the next 2 in-game years that I might build some more housing and also some more existing buildings. The new buildings I will leave until the next video. Other than that, remember to look at your skills and see what skills suit yourself in the meantime. Again, I will revisit this at a later date. One thing that has become very useful, and that is in farming. If you've got a horse or a donkey, this is a must. Select your village whistleblower. And the reason why, let me explain. If we come off the donkey, if I walk backwards a bit, and the PC, you press G, you hear a whistle, and here they come. So he or she will then come towards you. It will stop a certain way away, and in the donkey's case, he spoke to me as well. So it is imperative. If anything else, that's the one thing that I would recommend that you definitely have. The rest of the skills is entirely up to you. You do them as you see fit. If you're on fast craft for things like multiple items in the workshop or the smithy, you may want to increase those crafting time or reduce the crafting time, so just increase the skill on that. If you want to increase the number of points, you may want to increase the levels on the points. So for example, what we've said in regards to the farming, if the farming isn't generating enough points that you want, then increase the skill level accordingly. But you choose how you see fit. Other than that, I shall see you in probably 2 in-game years, so about 8 seasons, hopefully with a bit more to show you of existing items, especially with the reviewer research. As always, if you've liked what you've seen, then please by all means click the like button and subscribe. I will look at any comments that are put on there for suggestions, and we can review that as well at a later video, a later date, even if it's stuff that we've already covered and you want to revisit, as always, and we can look at that and go into more detail if we need to. Other than that, I hope you enjoy the contents, and I shall see you again shortly.